The topic tonight is your ego keeping you broke? Now, there are the most common ego traps. First one is blame, whether it be blaming a person, a situation, a circumstance. When you're not getting where you want to go, people default to blaming something else. Well, if this person hadn't done this to me, or if this circumstance was better, if I had more time, then then I would be further along. Friends, if you catch yourself blaming people, that's when you need to stop, take a deep breath and say, is there really something else controlling me, or am I permitting my mind to believe that I'm allowing somebody else to control me? What I really hope that you guys take away from this tonight, I think there's 17 different ego traps. If you would identify and write down what those are for you so that you can start working on them and catching yourself. If you're a parent, this is going to help you coach your children through when you identify these, them falling into these ego traps as well. The second one is know-it-all. Either they already know it all and they can do it better, or I don't know enough. That is making a situation, a problem, all about them and their internal issues of, I already know everything, so you can't teach me anything, is very common in a choleric personality. And or it's a defense mechanism because they grew up in a household where they had to defend themselves at all times. So it takes a massive amount of growth. If you find yourself, when somebody is giving you instructions on something that's totally new to you, if your immediate gut response is, oh, I already know that, identify it. Ask yourself, do I really know this? Or am I saying that I know it so that I can just be done and move on? Now, when I worked at McDonald's, we had to train people. And as a trainer, I had to teach and train a person on a new apparatus, a new machine, a new device, right? New grill, whatever. And part of my job was teaching them and going through each step with them. I would show them, but I could not sign them off until they could show it back to me. And the reason for that is because when you ask somebody, do you understand? They immediately nod their heads in agreement because they don't want to feel like they don't know everything already. When you are working with an ego-driven person whose defense mechanism is, I know, or I can do it better, or I just don't know enough, that's your ego coming into play. Fear. Fear is a big, big ego. What if I mess up? Again, you'll notice that all of these things are about the stories that you're telling in your head, and you're allowing your headspace to control you rather than reality kicking in and you talking yourself through it. So what if I mess up? Well, what's the worst that could happen? If you ever encounter, what if I could mess up? What if I'm not perfect? Take it one step further and ask yourself, well, let's play this out. What is the worst thing that could happen if I mess up or if I'm not perfect? If you can grow to a point to do that self-evaluation, it's liberating. Comfort zone. Oh, we all know people that just love to be settled. They just want to be comfortable and happy, and they settle for mediocrity. All of these types of people, if they are dead set stuck in any one of these egos, just say thank you very much, wish you the best, because you can never want more for somebody than they want for themselves. So, comfort zone settling, you guys all know people like that. Self-righteousness. Now this one can come disguised a little bit differently, because you'll get people say, I could never do that. Or you'll get people like I have had personally say to me, I could never do what you do. And they say it in this pretend lighthearted manner that's quite condescending, but you just gotta let it go, right? Does anybody have any questions yet on any of these first 5? And if you are just now joining us, if you could make sure your mic is muted, that would be great. Just going through to make sure everybody's muted out. There we go. All right, so let's move on to the next 5. How many of you guys, before we do that, put it in the chat box if you identify with any of these in either people that you have interacted with in your prospecting or in your daily life, or in times where you yourself have used one of these as a defense mechanism, maybe before you started your own business, just to get somebody to not ask you to do one of these things. 2 so far. Oh yeah, I hear ya. And it's funny because as you go through your network marketing journey, once you know this information, you'll start to recognize, oh my gosh, that was me. Oh wait, done that one before. So let's look on to the next set that are not so common ego traps. These are ones that people often don't even realize that's their ego getting the best of them. Hold on one second. Judgmental. You just want to make money off of me. How many of you guys have ever had anybody say that to you when you present an idea to them? I know that I've had a few say that to me over these last 13 plus years. Yes, that's always fun. Instead of realizing that, you know what, you're actually there to be a blessing to them, to help them improve their lives. But it exposes a lot about the individual that says that to you. Because usually when people use these ego traps, it tells you who they really are. So for a person like that, be grateful that you get to just run the other way, because if they feel like you're using them and they're using that judgment of you just want to make money off of me, then chances are that's exactly what their motivations and motives would be if they were to join you. False humility. This one tends to happen as people grow and develop their businesses. They start to have a little bit of success and they get 2, 3, 5, 10 team members under them. And instead of continuing to push through, instead of continuing to sponsor, instead of continuing to grow their business through active contacting and inviting, which are the income producing activities, they fall into this false humility trap of, but my team needs me. My team needs me all the time to do all things for them. When in reality, that is you deciding that it's just more comfortable to be in the servant state, because you already went and got your low-hanging fruit by getting your 3, 5, 10 people. And now you're expecting them to do the same thing for you to grow their businesses, but they haven't matured to a place yet where they're willing to do that. They may have said, yeah, this sounds pretty awesome, I'll share this with other people, but until they grow to a place or have a pain point that's large enough for them to actually open their mouth, they're not going to do it. If you haven't muted yourself, if you could, that would be great. Hold on, let me just see who it is. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. How many of you guys have ever gotten the excuse, I don't have any money and I don't have any time? Excuses are easy to spot. Usually they come across in a very defensive way of anytime an excuse is given, That's usually a person's ego saying, I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to grow. I don't want to be challenged. So just leave me alone. I'm going to throw anything out there for you to just get off my back. It just means they're not interested. Yes, that's very true. But it's usually pride that's holding them back from being interested. Because if you've known them for any time at all, they'll be the ones that are the first ones to complain to you that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Well, they say that a lot, but they're not actually willing to do anything to change it. People pleasers. These ones are fun, and it's always hard to identify that as being actual ego talking. You're thinking, how could a people pleaser be an ego talking? Generally speaking, being a people pleaser, you want to avoid conflict of any kind. It's your sole desire to just make other people happy. Well, by you having the mindset of you being able to make other people happy, that's you thinking that you're that freaking powerful, that you are so powerful that you can actually prevent people from being sad or being unhappy. Guys, it's just not the case. Don't fall into the trap. All right, justification. This one's fun, especially for people who are already traditional business owners. We run into this roadblock a lot because they think that building a traditional business and building a network marketing business is exactly the same thing, that it requires the same thing. Here's the difference though. While they both require generating business, yes, both a traditional business and a network marketing business, without any argument at all, both require income producing activities. However, with a traditional business, you as the owner come from a position of power to get things done when you are working with other people. When you are in network marketing, you are coming from a position of servanthood in order to motivate a volunteer army. You are leading a nonprofit organization until they finally become profitable. The only way to do that is through a lot of appreciation and a lot of caring. When you're working in a traditional business, none of that is required. If you want to keep your employees, it is, but generally speaking, it's not. So many times, traditional business owners come in with the idea of, well, I can build this the same way that I built my other business. Or you've been in the industry for a long period of time and you use the excuse, well, I've always done it this way. Well, new technologies are always changing, and hey, we've all run into the experiment of COVID-19 and learned that if you were used to meeting belly to belly, you had to go and get technical and start meeting virtually. So if you stand behind the stance and are resolute about, well, it's always been done this way, then you will hit your ceiling, your lid. And I know Luis has been teaching and training, or he will be this next week, on the law of the lid. Every single one of these ego traps will be the lid that sets your income level if you do not break through it. If you don't own it, acknowledge it, and push past it, it's going to keep the lid on your earning income potential. Defensiveness, always explaining away why, defending yourself why you didn't get the income producing activity done. Now, Jim Rohn does a wonderful job talking about this in some of his teachings, and I know we have a lot of long-term veterans on here who Jim Rohn is just a staple in your diet. But for you newer folks, I encourage you to look this up. Jim Rohn talking about, don't sign up for that class, because you run into people who say, yes, I want to get started. And then a couple weeks go by and they say, well, hey, I got to get the garage cleaned out. I can't let the garage be overrun and messy. Or you know what? the screen, it just needs to be fixed. The screen door absolutely has to be fixed. I can't build my business today because I've got to get that done. Or a more appropriate, newer analogy might be, well, you know what? I got to get my car washed. It's been several weeks since my car got washed. But if your goals are so big, or as big as they were when we first sat down to talk, then you would deal with a messy car. You would deal with an unfixed screen. You would leave your garage messy for a few more weeks because Lord knows it took longer than a couple of weeks for it to look like that. Let's be real. It's always the distraction that people are looking for when they're using the defensive ego. Now we're going to touch base on the last one because these ones are oftentimes much harder to identify in oneself. And I bring all of this to bear because you guys know I don't trade. Yet I'm responsible for sponsoring over half of the people that we have personally enrolled, and I don't trade, I don't do math, and I've never used our software. Well, how did you do that, Jolene? Because I've embraced the affiliate component of this. The affiliate payout on this compensation plan is the only thing that's going to generate $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in cash over the next 12 to 18 months to put a meaningful amount in my trading account. Once my trading account is at that level, then I'll start to learn how to trade. But until that time, I'm tripping over single dollar bills or $100 bills to pick up pennies because there's not enough in my trading account to make it as impactful as the affiliate program. So I'm always paying attention to my mental state. And your ego is very, very much your mental head talk. So it's important, again, that you are able to recognize these patterns in yourself so that you can nip them in the bud. And they're also important for you to master them and be able to identify them in the people that you're talking to as prospects. Because right now, they might be the excuse maker. But then something happens and they get over it, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So when you're aware of these 17 or so excuse patterns or excuse traps, then you're able to identify them quickly, write them down in your notes, because then when you circle back to them, you can present in a different way, or you can go back and say, you know what, I remember you saying that your garage was, preventing you from getting started or really getting after this. Did you ever get your garage cleaned out? Oh, no, never did. Okay, well, when you get it done, and if you're ready after that, then we'll get started again. They're just going to feel like a heel. I mean, really. So the stealthy ego traps are jealousy. And this one, unfortunately, is very, very easy to get in the land of social media because social media is our highlight reel. Nobody ever posts the crappy things, right? And if they do, it always has the long story post of how they overcame it in the end. But let's be real and transparent. People use social media to get your attention, but they don't really post a whole lot of the true things that are constantly happening in their lives, okay? But it's easy to see the highlight reels. Like one of our friends, I love him. He's amazing. He's young. Like, seriously, if I would have had him when I was 20, I'm old enough to be his mom, right? He announced that he put a down payment on a 50-foot yacht today. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, I wish I could have done that when I was like your age, right? So it's easy to fall in the jealousy trap, but don't allow it to prevent you from moving forward. Don't allow that seed to get planted in your gut that you have such a taste in your mouth, that bile that's just sitting in the back of your throat because you are so jealous that it paralyzes you from moving forward. That will prevent you from ever getting where you want to go. It's always easier to invoke or feel or give credence to a negative emotion than it is to stamp it out and force yourself to move on. but none of these ego traps are going to serve you well unless you can break through the barriers. Here's one that you'll see a lot on social media too, the fake it. They're putting up the show to make you click on them to ask them what they're doing. Y'all know that in this community, we do not fake it until we make it. We keep it real, we keep it transparent, and we just let people know it's cool that I'm not where you want to be, and I don't have the success that you have had, but I'm partnered with mentors that have the success that you have and have already gotten where you have gotten. So I'm kind of just the Lego in the middle. That's it. When people embrace the idea that they're just the Lego in the middle to connect the rest of the community, that is truly when all ego is laid to rest, and that is when the breakthroughs happen. How about OPO, other people's opinions? Now, this might not be your ego, but it's definitely their ego. And the thing that will hold you back from getting you where you want to go is you actually listening to them. Other people's opinions never paid your bills. Most of the time, they're a broker than a joke, and they're constantly filling your head with nothing but negative. So, true story, if they don't have what you want, they don't get to have an opinion in your life. So move on. Exceptions. This one is my favorite and happens to be, you know, the flavor of the week. Well, I'm special. I grew up in a house that, you know, didn't have a lot. I was abused when I was a kid, so, you know, my journey's going to be different than yours, or this one's always fun. But Jolene, you don't understand. My ethnic group is this. Yeah, it's funny because our Filipino team that we had in our last community, they would say to me, Jolene, but you don't understand, my people are Filipino. And I'd look at them and say, it's so funny. My white friends say the same thing. It does not matter your ethnic origin or background. We all hear the same excuses because we're all people. And everyone wants to believe that their situation is super special, is super unique. Well, guess what, guys? When I was little, I lived in a car. Welfare was an upgrade, and here I am today. So it doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter where you started, it matters what you elevate yourself to and what barriers you break yourself of in order for you to get where you want to go. And trust me, I've got a long, long way to go still till I am anywhere near where I want to be, but I haven't stopped growing. So let's stop all thinking that we're so unique and so special. We're all human. We've all got garbage. We all have to deal with our stuff, and stop living in the past, talking about it over and over and over and over and over again, because every time we do, we relive it and keep ourselves trapped there. So let's pack that bag, leave it in the drawer, or better yet, set it out on the curb, and let's move on. Now, this last one, and it really is the stealthy ego trap that is the last one, is dissension. This one usually starts to appear in a, Oliver, you're funny, in an organization that starts to stagnate. When everybody starts off and you're going and you're excited and you're talking, everybody is in prospecting mode. Everybody is in talking to people, sharing their results, super excited. And then they witness the person who signed them up fall into the management trap of my team needs me when they've got like 4 people. Instead of seeing their teammate run with them as hard as they are running. That's when dissension starts happening. When you start having teams clash with each other. You start having them think to themselves, well, I'm working harder than this person's working, so why should I be working at all? They're just going to get rich off me, right? You see where like 4 other ego things popped up in there? Every single one of these on any given day, you could experience 3, 6, or 8 of them. But it's when you start to say them out loud and hear yourself, you'll realize you're just acting like a spoiled child that dumped over their ice cream cone. Yes, did it suck? Totally, because I like ice cream. But Is it serving you? No. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's been informative. I hope that you guys took some really great notes. But that's all I've got for you. So I'm